Okay, you lazy ones. Here I'll try to give you a brief breakdown of some of the Season 6 changes. This is just what we found out from the 3 revelations that were there over the past week. But yeah, of course, it's just like always. Maybe I understood something wrong, or it will just be implemented in a different way. Who knows? Let's just start with this, just for new neutral units. No idea where on the map they will be, but yeah, well, for neutral units. This was the first text. It's about, yeah, let's try to summarize it as short as possible. You won't have a faction. In Season 6, in the beginning, there are no factions. You will just spawn in an area that you choose, and yeah, like, your fellowship should then, of course, spawn as close together as possible, so you can then form a fellowship, get control over a region, and start to occupy the smaller keeps. There will be, as far as understood, 8 major keeps, so maybe the 8 capitals, we don't know yet. And smaller ones around it. In order for a group of fellowships, so fellowships can join together in groups and alignments, in order to then build a faction, your alignment or your group of fellowships that are allied need to occupy 8 small regions. As soon as you have 8 small regions, you can then form your own faction. Every fellowship that afterwards joins your alliance will also be in your faction or convert to your faction. So you can basically choose which faction you get along the way. I don't know what happens once you lose your regions, because if you lose your 8 regions, you will also lose your faction. You will be factionless again. I don't know if you can change it afterwards. Nothing is said about this so far. But I also don't know what's happening with the tier 4 in this season. Sadly, nothing is said about the tier 4, so that are everything about or regarding the tier 4 units are pure assumptions. So I will just leave it out for now. Yeah, once you have 8 small factions, you can small regions, you can form your own faction. Other fellowships that align with you will join in, and the leader of your alliance, so the so-called king, will get access to a second ring. And with this ring, he can activate stuff for his faction that will only be there for the faction. So here you have the first text. If you want to read it through, so you get out a few more information than just my brief breakdown. And here's the second letter, and this it's also described with the 8 key regions and some of the buffs. For example, each of those 8 rings brings a different buff. One, for example, brings that your attack is increased by 20%. The other one will expand your fort areas. One will turn stone into gold and stuff like this. After the ring is used, it's on a 24-hour cooldown. In here, I can't see how long a skill will last, so I guess this will be said in the description of the separate rings. I hope there will be some decent balance, because yeah, 20% more damage is kind of strong. Yeah, and if a player joins a faction that also already has a ring, he will get the benefits from the ring as well. If you occupy several rings, you can also use the skills of several rings. I don't know if they share a cooldown, so maybe you still can only activate one ring every 24 hours, but then you at least have to choose, or you have the possibility to choose between several rings. Again, exactly, that's all for the king. And then you can build watchtowers. Here it says, decided to build 2 watchtowers in each region of the kingdom. Yeah, that's all we have about the information how many watchtowers are there to build. So let's just assume you can build 2 watchtowers per region. Those watchtowers have special abilities as well. And so where were they here? For example, all members of the kingdom get 50% more of all resources for the duration of the spell. Or if you win a fight, 50% of the units you lost in the fight will immediately be healed. Enemies can't use the reinforcement in the region you activate the skill, and you have increased movement speed in the region, that stuff. But those buffs, or those spells, will last for 12 hours, and then your watchtowers are on a 48-hour cooldown. From the wording, lasts for 12 hours and then go on a 48-hour cooldown. I would assume it lasts 12 hours and then goes on the cooldown, so you have a total of 60 hours from usage to usage, and not 48 hours from usage to usage, because the 12 hours where it's active should also be, so to say, kind of cooldown. So from the wording they used in this letter, I would assume the 48 hours will start after the buffs went out. For every additional ring of power, so for every ring of those 8 you own, the abilities will last 2 hours longer. So if you happen to occupy all 8 rings, but I guess then the season will be ended, because I personally just assume that the season goal will be connected to a faction needs certain amount of rings to win. But let's just assume you occupy all 8 rings, then the duration will get increased by 16 hours, so you have a total of 28 hours activated of all those skills. Yeah, and that's basically the main or the key feature. You start without a faction, then you need to form an alliance out of several fellowships, then build or form your own faction, build watchtowers in the regions your faction occupies, occupy the big regions to gain access to those rings, occupy the rings, and get access to even further buffs or abilities that the king, let's call him this way, can then activate for all members of his kingdom. Yeah, to be beneficial in the fights and stuff. I think that's all. If you are interested to know exactly, or maybe just see if I overread something or stuff, you can just pause the video for the text, or you can just go into the Revelations channel, because in there you can see all of those information as well. Yeah, that is it, like a brief breakdown of what we know so far. We have sadly zero information about roleplay, non-roleplay, so if you just join in and are random and start with no idea which units, if you have to choose are you good or evil, so you at least know with which units you start. If you have to say, yeah, I am like an Isengard origin, so I start with Uruk-hai, even though later on I will join the Rune faction and will get access to war chariots and no access to Snargathrak. We don't know it. No information about it, sadly, but yeah, this is what we know so far. For the rest, the good old beta testers who register for the first season, 6th season, yeah, we'll have to find out, and then it seems we have to wait until those poor guys can give more information about what it's exactly like to be factionless. Yeah, so have fun with those information, have fun in the season, and see ya here, whatever. Yeah, and of course you all have those new rings, right? And I found out that if you go roleplay servers, the ring will just have 2 skills less. Like in the top left corner in my video, I showed that there are 2 skills for the mixed servers to get access to the commanders of the opposite alignment and to lower the morale debuff. Those 2 skills just simply don't exist in non-roleplay, and that's it. So yeah, basically in non-roleplay your ring just has 11 levels less. Yeah, so I think that's it so far. I wish you good luck with the season, have fun with those information, and